Hey, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. Just getting going with my day. I'm sure you are with yours. Hope everyone's doing okay out there. Big news, WWE firings. Braun Strowman. And here's the official release, very succinct. WWE has come to terms on the releases of Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Murphy, Ruby Riott, and Santana Garrett. WWE wishes them WWE wishes them the best in all of their future endeavors. Big names there. Let me do it one more time. WWE has come to terms on the releases of Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Murphy, Ruby Riott, and Santana Garrett. WWE wishes them the best in all of their future endeavors. Got this news. WWE basically tweeted it themselves, so I guess I got it directly from the source. My Twitter buddy there, Tom Collahue, nice guy from the UK. Tom says, huge names gone who had a lot to offer. Does the WWE just not see a future for them? Bonafide Heat on Twitter says, here come all the fake Braun Strowman fans. And then Bonafide says, side note, it is unfortunate that he was released. I wish him the best. Jerk says, Aleister Black and Murphy, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Seriously. And he puts a nice kind of a horror movie picture there. So my take on this, folks, and it's just my opinion, and thanks for checking in. You're welcome to share this link, everybody. I think it's, look, to be quite honest, we've seen this happen before, that WWE releases somebody and they go on and they have a better career somewhere else. And the exposure that one, meaning a wrestler in particular, or a broadcast person, the exposure that you get from being on WWE is great. It's incredible. You get so much recognition. If you're building, quote, your brand, a term that I hate, by the way, the brand thing. But if you're doing that, there's nothing better than being on WWE for a pro wrestler, for whatever, a sports entertainer in the WWE's case. So really don't cry for these people. First of all, don't get upset about it. Major Carver, how you doing, buddy? Braun Strowman in particular, easy money, folks. Easy money for Braun if he continues with pro wrestling, which I'm guessing he would. AEW could come right in and have a major program with Miro versus Braun Strowman for the TNT title. As TNT goes over to TBS, or as AEW goes over to TBS, wouldn't that be a headlining match for a pay-per-view or a weekly show or an angle? One thing about AEW that Jim Cornette's been saying, and everybody's been saying it, they need to make their feuds last longer. They have a lot of one-off feuds in AEW, but a Miro, have Braun Strowman come in, demolish Lance Archer in a couple of minutes, and Braun Strowman easily could go in there, and maybe Big Show or Mark Henry could be a legendary sacrifice now that they're both in AEW. And Braun Strowman could have a great match with Miro for that TNT title. World title, Kenny Omega versus Braun Strowman. I don't see it. It could happen. They just have conflicting body types, and it would be a weird match, to be honest. Aleister Black. Okay, look, folks, I'm not the biggest NXT guy. I know a lot of you guys and women like Aleister Black and thought he was great in NXT. I'll be honest, I just don't know. I haven't seen Aleister Black's best work. And I don't know if under the Vince McMahon regime, especially the Saudi Arabians apparently didn't like Aleister Black and his female demon tattoo on his back. So now Aleister Black gets to go somewhere where he's well appreciated. And do you really need another Aleister Black in AEW? I can see Aleister Black actually doing better in NWA or in Impact Wrestling. In fact, he could go to Impact Wrestling, Aleister Black, and be a huge star. Maybe he wants to take a little time off. I'm forgetting. Is it oddly, is it Selena Vega, the manager that he's real life married to, Aleister Black, and she recently came back to the company, WWE, after that union stuff. So that's a little interesting. Yes, I'm wearing a Road Warriors shirt. Thanks for noticing. Let's see what else we got here, folks. Lana, okay, her real life husband, and they are always telling us how happy they are together. Good for them. Lana Miro's got that TNT title. I just mentioned him. Lana could come into AEW easily, and even as a part-time thing, she could be with Miro, her husband. She could do her own thing. Lana has been very entertaining. With WWE, look, she really tried hard to improve her in-ring work, I think, and she did improve. She's just, in my opinion, not like a Charlotte Flair or a Charlotte Flair or a Sasha Banks, I'm trying to get to, or even a Becky Lynch at her peak. Lana is not, she's kind of like, my friend Maria Kanellis, who is a natural born entertainer, Lana, and the wrestling world works for her. But is Lana the best wrestler, like in-ring performer? No. However, in AEW and these other promotions, they could use the shine or the name recognition that Lana brings, face recognition. So Lana could easily go over to somewhere and she'd be successful, or at least have, part-time work or whatever. So I wish her the best, but she'll be fine. The biggest thing here, folks, I know a lot of wrestling fans, we get emotionally attached to these wrestlers and we think that their lives are in jeopardy. Trust me, these people have gotten good money from the WWE time. That none of them are suffering. None of these, I don't think so. Let's go to the next name. Murphy, interesting choice here. A guy that really seemed to be having something going good with the Rey Mysterio. And the Rey Mysterio feud, Dominic feud was right in the mix with Seth Rollins, kind of Seth Rollins' right-hand man. And then they did the whole thing, which is really where it hit its creative peak and its creative failure around the same time, was Murphy doing the thing with Rey Mysterio's daughter. And in this culture now, people took question with that, because in real life, the daughter's like 19 and Murphy's like 32 or 33. People didn't respond well to that. It felt a little creepy. As Jim Cornette would talk about, felt a little ratty. And people didn't like it. So some of these wrestlers are kind of victims of the creative. And it's unfortunate because Murphy, in-ring talent, I believe, didn't he open a WrestleMania or some other major pay-per-view with a Cruiserweight or 207, 205 Live title defense? Murphy was a great talent between the ropes, and also pretty damn good as a wrestler. But as a promo guy, he was decent as a promo guy. Murphy, wasn't he romantically linked to Alexa Bliss? I thought they broke up. Who knows? But Murphy would be a great, outstanding to anywhere, and I do feel like we can't just say, AEW is going to pick up all these orphaned WWE wrestlers. First of all, they've got to market the people they already have. I mean, I just went to that AEW convention on Saturday. You had Peter Avalon. Nobody, thinks about Peter Avalon. I guess he's still on the, not that Peter Avalon is anywhere near Buddy Murphy athletically or whatever, but I mean, AEW is loaded. They have enough people for a while. So you need to start thinking NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, Billy Corgan, if he wants to really get into this game. Nick Aldis, I just did another video. Nick Aldis needs an opponent. Buddy Murphy would be a great opponent for Nick Aldis. Awesome match. Buddy Murphy versus Nick Aldis, NWA World Heavyweight title. Braun Strowman could come into the NWA. If Braun Strowman wants to work less dates, wants to have a more of a part-time thing, Braun Strowman coming in and maybe doing some matches with Nick Aldis. I don't know about any of these wrestlers, if they have non-compete clauses in their contracts or now they're released. I don't know the deal, so we'll see. Ruby Riott is the next name. Ruby Riott gets cut. Liv Morgan keeps her job, and that's the last of the Riott Squad. The Riott Squad, in my book, folks, was a lot of fun when they lasted. Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and the Viking lady, I'm trying to remember her name, but they were a great threesome, and now she's gone. So I don't know what to say about that, except Ruby, once again, just if you've been watching WWE long enough, if you know Vince McMahon, even from a fan perspective, what he likes, what he doesn't like, the tattoos, the piercings, the dyed hair, the non-traditional look of Ruby, that's not something Vince is going to go for. The most edgy Vince will go for to really push big time is someone like Becky Lynch, Oh, she's got red hair and she's got an accent. Okay, so that's pushing it for Vince. But to have someone with that, alternate look, that alternative look, the Suicide Girl look. By the way, you can see Suicide Girls Burlesque right here on subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Wearing the hat, so that's what it says. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. You look up subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. You see the Suicide Girls Burlesque. Ruby Riott, I thought she was a great talent. They did a nice kind of mini doc on her on WWE Network a while ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I liked Ruby Riott. I liked the Riott Squad. One of the ladies, the first one, left the group and left wrestling and altogether. She was married to one of those tag team guys, the Viking Raiders guys. Whatever happened to Viking Raiders, by the way? Are they still around? But she's gone. Ruby, I think she is a wrestler who, once again, National Wrestling Alliance. Can you imagine Serena Deeb versus Ruby Riott? Or if she has to take on another name. Now, here's one that's interesting. Santana Garrett. She was born on May 22nd, 1988, according to Wikipedia. Gorgeous woman. Santana Garrett, she wrestled for Impact under the ring name Brittany. She blah, blah, blah. She did NXT for a couple of years. And so here we go. It's just Santana Garrett has been kind of floating around. She was on NXT. She did NXT Portland Takeover. I'm looking up some stuff about Santana. I remember Santana Garrett from other wrestling groups, Stardom, Shine, Women of Wrestling, TNA, going way back to 2010. She was back in, oh my goodness. So she's been around longer than I would think because she's still a young looking woman. She kind of has that look. Remember Eve Torres? Kind of like that same type of look. The Santana Garrett looks like a modified or a younger version. She's from Ocala, Florida. She's 33 years old. She still has plenty of time. But I'd say with Santana, Garrett here, if she's going to do something, she's got to do it now. She should be on the phone trying to get work with AEW, NWA, Impact Wrestling, somebody. And let's see, Black or Checkered, great name, by the way, great handle. Comment, I couldn't help but notice that all 5 of these releases have been with the WWE for about 5 years or more, and the WWE owns their names, and they're in their mid-30s. I think that's the reason. So let's break this down. Great analysis, Black or Checkered. So they've been around for 5 or more years, with the exception of Braun Strowman, or even Lana, actually. Have these people been pushed to the highest moon, with the exception of Braun and Lana on that list? Probably not. The WWE owns their names, and they're in their mid-30s. So if you're thinking Black or Checkered, that they're in their mid-30s, so they're getting in wrestling world and Vince world, they're getting a little bit older. We go back to the 90s when you get rid of Hogan and Savage, and they still got a lot of milk from those two guys from WCW when they're in their 40s. So you're thinking that they're ageism type of things, that they're being aged out. They haven't produced in 5 or more years. Here's an interesting reminder. Braun Strowman, when he got that WrestleMania title victory over Bill Goldberg, not this past WrestleMania, but 2020, with the exception of Braun, none of these releases would have surprised me, Black or Checkered. I agree. But if you look at Braun Strowman getting he said he was driving home, like he was in his vehicle driving home because he wasn't even booked for WrestleMania in 2020. And then he got a phone call saying, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm going home. And they said, well, it's WrestleMania. Can you come in? And we got a match for you now because, and they said, well, what match? And they said, well, Roman Reigns, he's out. He's afraid of the pandemic and we need you. And you'll get a shot at Goldberg and you'll win. So Braun turned his vehicle around and went and got his title victory. And supposedly, if you remember this, folks, a couple of years ago, there was thoughts that Braun Strowman was having issues with behind the scenes behavior, and there was contemplation and analysis that Braun was not the easiest guy to get along with backstage, or he had attitude problems. That was a couple of years ago. That's not been recently. it seemed like they worked that out. I mean, I think Braun Strowman, once again, if you remember when he was pushing things over and he was the heel feuding with Roman, Arn Anderson talked about it. The house shows were on fire with Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns. And Black or Checkered, once again, I think Vince is afraid of releasing someone with known name recognition, so he will only release people that he owns the names to. Black or Checkered, I hope you subscribe. I hope you're already a subscriber. I don't know if this is my friend Ed. Check it in, because Ed would have a cool name like that, Black or Checkered. But if not, feel free to identify yourself. Hope you subscribe. Share the videos, Black or Checkered. Some great analysis from Black or Checkered today. Major Carver, hope you're still with us too. But I really don't know what to say. I mean, I think you're right. As far as Black or Checkered's thoughts in the chat here, you can see it. You're right. He doesn't want to release someone with name value. Look, WWE is greedy. They have all this money from their international deals, from their TV deals, from their deal with Peacock. They have all this money, but they still want to put a foot on the back of anybody who's trying to do something in pro wrestling, whether that's AEW especially or any other group. WWE really doesn't want other people to succeed in professional wrestling. And so this recent discussion of them possibly working with New Japan, I didn't really buy into that. That doesn't seem to be happening. They've worked with other groups, Evolve, but it's always the WWE is in charge, and the other group is getting scraps. I just don't think. Okay, have been sub for a day or two, and I'm not Ed. Okay, Black or Checkered, very good. But for my opinion, I just think that WWE does things for them. They just do things for them. They do things. ECW, go back to the relationship with ECW when WWE was, quote, funding ECW. Well, apparently they didn't fund them enough to keep them in business, and they were only giving them a small amount of money. And, they didn't sell ECW, didn't sell directly to WWE. They had to go to bankruptcy court, and WWE sucked up the scraps. I'm getting all choked up, folks. The point is, WWE is they're not a business that's in the business of helping others. They're in the business of helping themselves. We've established that. You're right, Black or Checkered. It is all the names. I'm not surprised by Aleister Black. He didn't seem to be a good fit. What I am surprised is that I believe it's still his real life wife, the manager lady, who I've met in person, nice lady. She's recently gone back, and now he leaves. So that's interesting. But look, this wrestling world is so goofy. You've got something like Adam Cole. I was just Twitter debating today about Adam Cole with Kevin Castle and Johnny from New York. And it's just Adam Cole's name came up. And I made the point that the best thing about Adam Cole is his girlfriend, Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, who's the AWA Women's Champion. Kind of a sideways compliment insult, because I do know that Adam Cole has helped her, and she said that herself. I'm not making that up, that Adam Cole has been like a mentor with them together. So all these wrestlers that are in these kind of, Mickie James just got fired or let go from WWE a month or less ago, but she's been with Nick Aldis all this time. So, and Nick has spoken repeatedly that he has no interest or very little interest in going to WWE. So some of these wrestlers are in couples that are, interpromotional couples in real life. Miro's been gone from WWE for a while. Now Lana joins him in being non-WWE employees. What do you guys think? I'm going to post this video. If there's any other wrestling, here we go. Do you think this is the end of the releases for now? Good question. I would say I wouldn't be surprised, Black or Checkered, if there's like a little aftermath, like, 3 or 4 hours from now, maybe some of the people that are associated with these people, whether it's personal relationships, friendships, partnerships in the ring, even kayfabe storylines. If we start seeing a couple of names, I'd say 3 or 4 other names. I'm trying to look at them. For instance, Ruby Riott, this is just pure speculation. I could see a thing. I don't really see it because I think Liv Morgan is probably pretty happy where she is. And, from the Vince McMahon eye candy world perspective, Liv Morgan is probably someone he wants to keep around the company, given his fetish for like the blonde, gorgeous wrestler. But I can see a thing where if Liv Morgan kind of looks at this and says, wow, they got rid of Ruby, our other friend is gone. This is just not fun for me anymore. They haven't used, I'm talking about Liv Morgan here. They haven't used me. I could see Liv Morgan wanting to leave. And maybe she calls someone or someone calls her just to get a feel. And I could see Liv Morgan leaving. I personally would keep her on the payroll because I think she is definitely someone who works hard in the ring. I'm talking about Liv Morgan here. But I could see where if she could be upset that Ruby's gone and maybe doesn't feel comfortable or wanted, it doesn't see much for her. And you can have Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott go feud with the former Iconics, who are both gone now too, somewhere else. Lana, Murphy. I was going to jokingly say Murphy. With Murphy being released, you could see Eddie, so Rey Mysterio's daughter being released too, right? But I don't even know if she has a contract. Is anyone attached to Braun Strowman? The most thing that he had all those things with Alexa Bliss over the years, the monster and the princess type thing. They haven't really done much with them recently. I did another video, by the way, about the death of, Steve Henry, or the pig that was owned by Alexa Bliss. And I did a video about the Twitter reaction, my reaction to the Twitter world reaction. Aleister Black, I think the thing to keep an eye on is, like I said, his wife. I think it is his wife, who just came back to the company. Santana Garrett, I really don't know much about her or her life. Black or Checkered. Jason South says, I think with all the recent cuts and deals being made by Khan, Vince is gearing up to sell the WWE. Yes, I saw someone speculating on this the other day, Jason. It might have been my buddy Joe Cronin, and I think even there was an article online or a video. Someone was speculating, might have been Joe Cronin, might have been someone else, that Vince is thinking about selling. Someone was saying that maybe this guy, Khan, not Tony Khan, but I believe it's Kevin Khan at WWE, might be buying. She is still younger. I'm not sure who you mean, Black or Checkered. If who are you talking about? Santana Garrett or Lana? We got so many names flying around. Braun, Enrique. I'm going to read these in order. Enrique. They had gold in their hands when brought up Murphy, Black, and Ruby, and they threw it away. I don't get this company. Enrique, you nailed it, brother. You nailed it. Enrique, they had gold in their hands when they brought up Murphy, Aleister Black, and Ruby Riott, and they threw it away. I don't get this company. Like I said a few minutes ago, Enrique, I just don't think that Ruby Riott is someone that Vince McMahon understands. He doesn't get the hair color. He doesn't get the tattoos. It's Suicide Girls type stuff, and that's not Vince. Vince likes the Farrah Fawcett, the Suzanne Summers, the blonde bombshell, Trish Stratus, Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler. That's Vince's mindset. You know what I mean? Look at the women in the not really the Attitude Era, but the post-Attitude Era. You know, the ruthless aggression when he's making out with Tori Wilson and Sable in the 2004 return. Vince McMahon likes the blonde bombshells. That's why I said maybe a Liv Morgan. If you were to compare in-ring work, you definitely say that Ruby Riott is a little bit better or a lot better than Liv Morgan, but Vince likes the pretty blondes. Let's see, Black or Checkered. Maybe they will release Braun's tag team partner, Nicholas. Good one. Braun. Okay, so Liv. Okay, so Black or Checkered, I think your point is that Liv Morgan is younger. She's probably, you're right, she's probably 26, 27 years old, Liv Morgan. So she's not in her mid-30s, so they see more of an upside. Liv Morgan is look, she's beautiful, she's spunky, she seems to have a good work ethic. As far as we know, some of these women that they've been pushing tend to get pregnant, and we haven't seen that with Liv Morgan. So, you know, I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything. I'm just saying that they had that whole program with the Southern Belle woman wrestler. And she was supposed to have this big program with Charlotte about Ric Flair. And then she got pregnant in real life, and that botched the whole program. So with Liv Morgan, whatever she's doing in her personal life, she hasn't had a pregnancy. And she has been very good in WWE. They even had a little documentary on her. So she might be safe. My speculation, pure speculation, was you were asking me if there could be any other releases today. And I I think so. And I think that part of that could be the wrestlers themselves wanting to leave and requesting their release. That was my point. So I could be wrong. It's just pure speculation, and that's part of the fun of this stuff. Once again, folks, I think you're pretty intelligent guys here and women that are watching. We can't get all worked up about this. These wrestlers are going to be fine. I mean, I used to have a joke, coming soon to a VFW near you. But with all these wrestlers now, the name value they have, they should all be fine. Enrique says, and I don't understand why they spent all that money on vignettes for Black and they have him return just to be released. Great point, and I'll try to explain it to you, Enrique, as best I can. What they do in NXT, if it's true that Triple H and maybe Shawn Michaels to a lesser extent and are kind of the guiding forces of NXT and how they promote people there, doesn't always translate to, quote, the main roster, which would be Raw and SmackDown, which Vince McMahon Jr. still kind of runs the show. And in my opinion, and other people's opinion, he's suffering from age issues, if not actual Alzheimer's or some other god-awful disease that you get when you get older. And I'm not making fun of Vince. I'm just saying that seems to be the case sometimes. Vince does not look very good. He doesn't even look as good as he did 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And unfortunately, age doesn't care how much money you have. Age doesn't care how good you are at promoting sports entertainment. Age doesn't care about WrestleMania 1 or 17 or that you bought WCW, right? Age is undefeated. Uncle Time is undefeated, or Uncle whatever, Father Time is undefeated. Vince, my opinion, is suffering from issues like that. And the Shane and Stephanie and mostly Stephanie and Triple H haven't gotten the grip away from Vince, right? So when he sees these people coming up from NXT, he doesn't know what to do with them, or he wants to make them service who he's already got in motion, whether that's Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins or whoever. Triple H creates and Vince destroys. Put that on a T-shirt, Enrique. You got it, man. And that's Enrique Martinez. Shout out. We got some really intelligent people in here. Blacker Checker, Jason South, Major Carver. And now Enrique Martinez comes in and says, Triple H creates and Vince destroys. You got it. And that's why, personally, I don't get into NXT, because I know that if I get emotionally invested in these characters and these wrestlers, they're going to go and get destroyed by Vince's meat grinder. So not trying to take you away from whatever you enjoy watching, but folks, I'm watching more of AEW myself these days. I just checked out the NWA. They've got a pay-per-view coming up. I think the NWA could really use an infusion of talent if Billy Corgan's out there and he really wants to play big-time ball with his other promotions. Now, Billy Corgan, get your residuals from the Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dreams albums out, because now you got some talent you can actually take a bid on. Black or Checkered, where do you see these 6 going in the future? Which companies or promotions? I will go through and I'll bullet point that, because I didn't analyze it when I went through, but I'm going to bullet point it for you, buddy. Braun Strowman, I got to think he's going to AEW. I believe Braun Strowman lives in the South somewhere, in Alabama or something like that, or Georgia. And Florida is just a state that he would do well in AEW. They could use some big men. Could you imagine Braun Strowman versus Luchasaurus, Braun Strowman versus Miro? Like I said, I definitely see Braun being an AEW guy. If they've got to change his name, I think the fans will accept him. They will like the fact that they have like a big 320-pound guy, Braun Strowman, in AEW. I got to think that. Aleister Black, I would advise, if he's listening to me somehow, I would advise Aleister Black go to Impact Wrestling. I think that's a better fit. I think Aleister Black can come into Impact. He could have more creative freedom. There's less people there to compete with. If Aleister goes to AEW, he's another 240-pound guy in the middle of 240-pound guys. I say Aleister Black, go to Impact Wrestling. Lana, I got to say she goes to AEW on a part-time basis, and I'm not diminishing her. I'm just saying I can see Lana getting more into her modeling. CJ Perry, I believe, is her real name. I could see her doing more modeling and acting and stuff like that, and just kind of being in AEW to be with Miro once in a while if they want to. And Lana just kind of pursuing other interests besides wrestling, because I think that she would like to do that again if I were to speculate. Murphy, like I said, I'd love to see Murphy go to the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. I'd love to see Murphy versus Nick Aldis. I think that would be a great fit. I think Murphy, once again, could come to AEW, but it's stacked. They've got too many guys in AEW. So, yeah, Murphy could come to AEW, but if I were to advise to him, if I were to be the guidance counselor for these wrestlers, I'd say, Murphy, go to the National Wrestling Alliance, get yourself a match with Nick Aldis, and maybe come over to AEW a year or two from now when things calm down. Ruby Riott, in my opinion, Ruby Riott can go wherever she wants and be a valuable wrestler. I could see her going to AEW. I could see her going to NWA. I could see her going to one of these predominant women wrestling groups. I could even see her taking a little bit of time off and then maybe coming back in 2 or 3 months or 6 months and having a big impact somewhere. If I were to advise Ruby Riott, who would really need her? I'd say the NWA. I'd say that, but you know what? AEW, Ruby Riott versus Dr. Britt Baker could be a hot feud off the bat. Santana Garrett, I think a tough one. She's 33. Her best thing, Santana, would be to try to get any type of connection to AEW she has and get over there and try to lock into a contract, even if it's something. I'm not trying to put Santana Garrett down. I'm just saying it's going to get competitive real quick. Santana, her best move is try to get to AEW for the TV time and everything else and the money. They have a cush schedule there, folks. I've seen it. The cush as compared to the olden days of wrestling. These wrestlers are working one territory, basically Jacksonville, Bailey's place. And all of these wrestlers, probably their best thing in some regard, financially and so forth, is to go to AEW. But there's just not room for all the talents. That's why I'm giving these other ideas. I'm going to check in with some of these comments. Okay, Blacker Checker, I just answered you. Enrique, it seems to me that Vince gets pissed because Triple H does a better job creating talent. So Vince brings them up to bury them, and I wouldn't be surprised if Keith Lee gets released. Oh, my goodness. And then Blacker Checker chimes in. I hope Keith gets released. Tough, stiff. Here's the thing. You could be onto something, Enrique. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the day or next week, Keith Lee does get released. And I've been saying that for weeks. That I had another video that I put up almost 2 years ago, which was NXT fans, why are you upset? I was literally talking about Tommaso Ciampa and the other guy, Fight Forever guy, coming up to the WWE main roster and being put together as a tag team, even though they were feuding, Johnny Gargano. And I said, why are you fans upset, NXT fans upset? Now you know what it's like when your main roster guys get hurt. Santana is a multiple-time NWA Women's Champion. Okay, oh, great. What would Lou Thez do is back. Lou, how you doing, buddy? I could definitely see Santana going back to the NWA. They're doing that whole thing with Thunder Rosa and Braun Strowman's real-life girlfriend. Interesting. What's her name? Camille. Are they split now? Who knows? But, I mean, you can see I speculated that Strowman could go the NWA and have a one-off with Nick Aldis. But at the end of the day, I can see Braun Strowman more in AEW. However, the NWA, if Billy Corgan really wants to make a statement, now it's his time to make a statement. Just look, everything special about Keith Lee in NXT was destroyed the first day he debuted on Raw. You got it. You got it, man. Because Keith Lee, Vince didn't like his physique. Oh, my God, put a shirt on him. It's disgusting. Oh, look at that physique. So, I mean, Vince doesn't like Keith Lee. I believe he changed his music. Everything special about Keith Lee, Vince, horrible. So, I mean, Vince just does not get it. That's the thing with Vince McMahon and some of these talents. He does not get their uniqueness. He wants to make everybody a 1980s bodybuilder. We talk about the age-old cliche story of Mick Foley. The reason why Vince hired Mick Foley was because he wanted Jim Ross to know what it was like to have his heart broken by a talent. Vince, as smart as he is, and I said that I think he's suffering from ageism, not ageism, that's prejudice against older people. I think Vince is suffering from age-related issues, and I hate to say it, but I think it's true. I think it's time that Vince hand over those reins to someone else. And he doesn't seem to be wanting to do that. And I don't know the legal ramifications, but it doesn't seem like it's happening. So my point is, folks, it's a good day. See, this is the thing. I saw someone on Twitter, brace yourselves. WWE releases are happening. This is not sad for anyone. To be quite honest, these wrestlers are free. They are liberated. They can go out and do things now that they couldn't do before. We talk about all the social media things of these wrestlers having, extra income from side releases of wrestling. Here's a great. I want to show Enrique's comment because he had a little bit of swearing in there, but I'm not offended. Enrique says, Vince has passed his expiration date. Time to throw that shit away. Good point, Enrique. We've had some really intelligent wrestling fans in here today. I'm happy. Sometimes you see my rants and I get upset with wrestling fans, but we've had some really intelligent wrestling discussion here today. What would Luthez do? Enrique Martinez, Black or Checkered, subscriber for the last couple of days. Black or Checkered, check out my Ox Baker interview. Ox Baker, one of the boys. My Bob Backlund interview, Wrestling Sun. If you guys watch Wrestling Sun with has John Cronus, you'll see some wrestlers that you are familiar with. Enrique, these guys will be fine because they will find jobs. They're too good to not get jobs. Perfect. That's the thing. Wrestling fans, we are very emotional fans. We get very connected to these talents. We worry about them. There's nothing to worry about. Every single one of these talents in my book, as far as I know, none of them have big mental problems or attitude problems. They've all been professional. And the only thing we heard about from any of them was Braun Strowman a couple of years ago. I don't even know if I'd buy that, to be honest with you. I see that all of these talents, Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Murphy, Ruby Riott, and Santana Garrett, they're all going to be quite fine. They're all going to get work. They can do acting in B movies or whatever. They can be on game shows. They will be fine. None of these folks are coming soon to a VFW near you. I'm just refreshing the WWE network, although it took me to Peacock. I'm trying to get to just the WWE.com and see if there's any other news or releases on the official straight from the source. As far as Meltzer or anybody else, I could do a quick check to see. They've got some Adam Cole stuff going on with NXT on the WWE website. LA Knight, interesting, folks. This is always an interesting thing. We don't talk about the new talent coming in and how that relates to the other talent getting kicked out. You know what I mean? But LA Knight, who is really a great mouthpiece. I'm trying to remember, what did he wrestle with for years, LA Knight? Vince will never sell. He will let that thing burn to the ground before he ever sells it off. Black or Checkered chiming in. It's funny because the feeling I've gotten, Black or Checkered, is that Vince doesn't trust his own kids, meaning Shane and Stephanie, and he wants to just get all this money from these foreign deals and these TV deals. I went to the Wrestling Observer has got a horrible website name, F4WOnline.com. So I guess that's for Wrestling Online. I mean, if you ever look at the Wrestling Observer website, it's got the horrible name for the website, F4WOnline.com. Figure 4 WrestlingOnline.com. I just don't get it. Why they have terrible. I mean, that's going back to like 10 or 15 years. Some headlines there. AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view buys could be their second best ever. They have the thing about the releases. And once again, folks, I did go to Double or Nothing, so you can check my videos. I took some clips. You could also see The House Always Rules. I think I've got the best video from The House Always Rules April 9th show that you'll see on this channel, a whole playlist. The only guy, Enrique checking in again, the only guy from NXT that will be a big star on the main roster is Karrion Kross because Vince likes his look. Enrique again, that's why I do not want them to bring up Adam Cole. Like I said, we had a nice Adam Cole debate. Adam Cole you're probably right. He's safe where he's at. And I think Adam Cole's contract was up a few weeks or a few months ago. And I even thought he might go over to AEW, but he didn't. Black or Checkered, the only big names that I think might be getting released later this year will be either Ciampa or Gargano. Great point. And you know what? I hate to say it, but from WWE's point of view, they've gotten the best from those guys, haven't they? They've squeezed them, for their physicality. I mean, Tommaso Ciampa, a guy I knew back in Top Rope Promotions. I was a commentator. He was our champion for almost a year. And Tommaso, great guy, but they've squeezed him for his body, for his best matches. And same thing with Gargano. And they're not Vince McMahon type of guys. They're not big guys. Yeah, Famous Mister, thanks for chiming in. F4 for Figure 4, right. The Figure 4, I'm thinking about getting the subscription to Wrestling Observer. I haven't in the past, but I think I might. Just so and look, we know that everything they print and everything they say is not the best. Blah, blah, blah. Well, gentlemen and ladies, for those that might be watching, give this about another 2 or 3 minutes. If anyone's got something to say, we're going to wrap this up in about 2 or 3 minutes. But please chime in, and I'll take any questions or comments for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm going to get going with the rest of my day. Once again, fans, I think we're all pretty mature here. We know these wrestlers are going to be fine. They're going to do whatever they have to do. They're not coming soon to a VFW near you. You think about the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke in that colostomy bag. None of these wrestlers are in that state of peril. These are all young people. Even in their 30s, they're young. And so they'll be fine. They will totally be fine. There's nothing to cry about. And like I said, they've gotten that TV exposure, with the exception maybe of Santana Garrett. She hasn't had as much exposure as the rest. But I think these wrestlers are probably like, yeah, good, because they're looking around, they're seeing this easy work with the AEW talent, and they just have to be excited maybe. And Ruby Riott, I mean, she's got to be chomping at the bit. I mean, she likes to, you have a feeling, at least I do with Ruby Riott, of all these people, especially on the women's side with Lana, Ruby Riott, and Santana, I feel that Ruby Riott is probably the person of these 6 that really loves wrestling the most. And I think with Ruby Riott, she's eager to get out there and work the territory system or the independent system and non-WWE system and just wrestle. So I can be excited for her. So I think that's about it. I'm trying to see if you guys have any more comments. Do me a favor, share this video once I have it all nice and I put a little font graphic. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. I do recommend, no offense, but my book, people that have read it have really been excited. So you get the Mike Messier book, A Distance from Avalon. There's a few wrestling references, but not a whole lot. It's mostly a horror book, When the Dying and the Dead Reunite, A Distance from Avalon. You can buy it on Kindle, paperback. It's a nice book. It's got the IBN number and everything. That's me. So buy my book, read it, and it's a quick read. It's about a 2-hour read. How was D versus Riho live? Lou asks. It was good, except it was a great match. The only downside to that, Lou, it was a long match too. I think it was about 17 minutes. I did tape it. It's on here. A lot of people were trying to find their seats. There was a lot of confusion at Daly's place with people trying to get in their seats. My seat is on an aisle, and so I have like a view that's good unless people are up and down the fucking aisle. So, I mean, unfortunately for me, a lot of other fans kind of blocked my view, and it was like people were just not understanding how to find their seats. And, the staff there at Daly's place is nice. They're not very hands-on. Like, you have to ask them for help rather than them volunteering to help you. And maybe that's a COVID thing or whatever. People are just afraid to get touchy-feely. But for me, it was just a deal where my view is restricted because of the people going to their seats. That's all. As far as the actual match goes, it was good. And Riho got a big pop. Deeb got a decent pop, but Riho got a real nice pop. And I thought it was a fun time and a great show. And like I said, I took clips of that. Double or Nothing was a great time. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a great time. I'm going to wrap things up, everybody. We're at the 45-minute mark coming up. I want to keep this below 45. Once again, my non-wrestling novel, A Distance from Avalon, When the Dying and the Dead Reunite. Enrique chimes in, the only thing AEW needs to change is not to have 100 high spots at every match, because the more you do it, the less special it feels. You got it. Smart guy, this Enrique. And Enrique, I like that tag team of FTR. That's how wrestling should be, in my opinion. They're good wrestlers, good tag team wrestlers. I'd like to see The guys in the inner circle, Santana Ortiz, I'd like to see them get the belts from the Young Bucks, and I'd like to see, the Pinnacle guys, FTR feud with the Santana and Ortiz. Who's better, Kenny or Randy? Oh my God! I mean, to be honest, do you have a third choice? Because Kenny will always be blemished to me because he wrestled the plastic doll in Japan. I guess I would go with Randy Orton. And I know that as far as fantastic, exciting matches these days, you'll probably get more mileage from saying Kenny Omega. I would probably go with Randy Orton, in my opinion. I know that the Jim Ross debate. I'm just not a huge Kenny Omega guy. I do respect his in-ring work, and I did do a video where I forgave him for wrestling the plastic doll in Japan based on his match with Moxley in Baltimore. But I'm still not 100% sold on Kenny Omega, but I do like the Don Callis Omega relationship. I do like that. I do think it's very reminiscent of Bobby the Brain Heenan and Nick Bockwinkel. Nick Bockwinkel's been coming to mind a lot lately. If you guys aren't familiar with him, former AWA World Heavyweight Champion, I think 4 times. He had this really great career, and I think it gets a little forgotten because he was in the AWA. But if you look at Nick Aldis, the current NWA champion, very reminiscent of Nick Bockwinkel. Aisle seats are double-edged sword. You got it, Lou. FTR are old school. I love old school. Enrique says he has a better legacy and more serious. You're talking about Randy Orton, I think. Enrique, check out my Bob Backlund interview. That's old school. Ox Baker, one of the boys, is about as old school as it gets. Make sure you watch it right here and subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. I've had fun. I mean, we've been doing this for 47 minutes. We've had a nice crowd in here, some real smart wrestling people. I'm happy to engage, and I've got to get going because, it's been fun. This has been a good interactive experience. I want to thank everybody who has been subscribing. Because more people are subscribing, I was able to do a live stream. The YouTube is getting tricky if you don't have a certain amount of subscribers, and I'm not even at 1,000 yet. So I'm trying to get to 1,000. And the watch time hours are right up there. But if you guys can help me get to 1,000, share this video or share any video you want. You just copy the URL and say, hey, this guy talks wrestling and he has clips. He has the Ox Baker thing, the Suicide Girls Burlesque, Messier Mantra, all my wonderful things, wrestling and non-wrestling. It's just an eclectic mix. But thanks. Thanks, everyone. This has been fun. I will do this again. Now that I know that it's working again, we'll be able to do more of this. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. That's what the hat reads. That's the icon. And goodbye. Have a great Wednesday. Since Wednesday, there's not AEW on tonight. Got to wait till Friday. I'll be going to that show as well. And so that's it. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Mike Messier. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't cry for these WWE talents. They're all going to be okay.